Hi, this is Justin Paperny with White Collar Advice. I'm pleased to welcome my friend, Shad Houston. Shad's going to be surrendering to Yankton Federal Prison Camp tomorrow to begin a 41-month sentence. And surrendering to prison is tough. It comes with a number of complexities. And Shad, I'm sure, is nervous to be going in, but he's prepared. He's put in the time. And I so admire him for talking about what these last few hours are like before going to federal prison. So, Shad, welcome. Give us a little bit on your background, your history, and how you're feeling knowing that you'll be crossing over into prison boundaries in the coming hours.
Well, unfortunately, I never planned on knowing this much about the federal prison system and the legal justice system, but I got myself into some trouble. I pled guilty to 3 different felonies. One was structuring payments, one was bribery, and one was false invoicing. I was actually set to be sentenced March of 18 of 2015, and we got there for the sentence hearing, and at that point the judge basically said, I'm throwing everything out, we're starting all over again. And at that point I was pretty well tapped out. I mean, it was very expensive to get to that point, and all I could afford, or I couldn't afford anything, so my attorney was going to stay on with me and see me through it. The prosecution took a couple shots at my attorney to get him removed for conflict of interest. He got removed as my attorney. They were successful after a couple times. And at that point, I had to go to a public defender and basically start all over. That happened in May. And from May up until January, right at the end of the January, is when I pled out.
So the timeline matters, and because these white collar crime cases, take so long to play out, and the stress of it. Many defendants like extensions because it delays the inevitable, or we think that the delays could help us at sentencing, and at times it can, depending on how proactive the defendant is. But at times, eventually you say, I just want to get this beyond. I want to get sentenced. I want to move on to the next phase, because as I've often said, this is the hardest part. I mean, you're going to be in prison in the next 18 hours, and what you're enduring the day before will be tougher than that first day, as crazy as it seems. Quickly, I understand you pled guilty, you accepted responsibility, you didn't blame anybody but yourself, but did you still feel a sense of vengeance or frustration when the U.S. attorney was pushing to have a lawyer that you had paid hundreds of thousands of dollars removed, and you essentially had to start over with a public defender? It left you at a severe disadvantage, especially when going up against the government resources. Were you angry? Were you frustrated? Or had you just been through so much you said, you know what, it's just okay. It's all just part of this experience. What happened when you lost that lawyer you had given so much money to?
Justin, the attorney I had, he was absolutely phenomenal. That guy was doing things that I didn't understand what he was doing all the time, and that was, he and I developed a friendship. I got to where when I went to go see him, there was times where I was staying at his house and so forth. So,
and I'm going to put up you've spoken highly of your lawyer. I'm going to put up a link to his contact information in case defendants in that part of the country are in need of a lawyer. They can reach out to him. Clearly you endorse him. I have a checklist that I work through with defendants. In fact, I'll put up a little information on a video I just filmed, hiring a criminal defense attorney. I admire the way you held your lawyer accountable, the way in which the relationship that you formed. So I'm really happy to hear that you had a positive experience with your criminal defense attorney.
Correct. So that aside, yeah, I was upset. I was ticked. And I went through about a month of, what am I going to do now? And I went and, they appointed the public defender for me. And after he got appointed to me, I went and actually watched him in court a couple times to make sure that he and I were going to, mesh. I was very concerned about that. He did a fantastic job for what he was assigned to do. The problem that I found with public defenders is, especially this gentleman in particular, he was the head of Montana Federal Defenders. And he's a fantastic guy. I believe that he was overworked. He had to do, he's got way too much on his plate to actually, and that's with many of the
Sure.
public defenders. I went in and watched these guys being sentenced, and their public defenders, I did not feel gave their client a fair deal, fair shake.
So part of, I guess, the value that I try to provide is lawyers should stick to the legal advice, of course, and we try to stick to the prison advice and preparing for what it's like to be a convicted felon, and the stigma that accompanies this process, and our name on the internet, surrendering to prison, loss of money. So there's the fallout. So knowing that your very experienced and capable new public defender was busy, you clearly began to take steps into your own hands. And I say this because a lot of defendants live in a sense of denial. I didn't want to believe that I'd be going to prison, even though in the back of my mind I knew I was. I ate poorly, I put on weight, I drank, I smoked, I chewed tobacco, I played golf. I just wasted so much time, and I didn't prepare to the degree that I should have. And because of that, I made matters worse on my family, those that love me. My business partner, Michael Santos, who served 26 years, my mom used to send me his blogs, and I would just say, I don't want to read blogs from a guy that's been in jail for 22 years. Please, I'm not going to jail. It's not my fault. It was the corporate culture, etc. You were different. You began to take action. So when did your preparations begin? When did you come across my work or read my book? And why did it stand out to you? And this isn't a self-promotion thing for me. I'm just saying, people that are watching, despite the circumstances in Chad's life, he began to prepare. He knew his lawyer was busy and he took matters into his own hands. That's part of the reason his outcome was better. So when did your prison preparations begin? Walk us through that.
It started when my true preparation for prison started when I got appointed to the public defender.
Right.
At that point, I really dove into, and maybe I should take a quick step back, Justin. Sure. Back when I was to be sentenced March of last year, I didn't really do any preparation because I felt my attorney had me covered. He was going to get me through the process.
Sure.
So much different when I got to this stage. So with that being said, like you said, I took it upon my own hands, and I started doing a lot of research online. And a very good friend of mine, he got indicted on tax evasion, and he was just starting the process as I was coming to an end.
Yep.
Funny thing is he's already in there serving out his 9 months.
Yeah.
And I told him about white collar. I finally decided I better jump on white collar. Type in YouTube. YouTube has everything.
Yeah.
So I jumped on YouTube. I typed in white collar crime, and lo and behold, there you are. And then I started watching a few of those videos, and then I started doing Google searches, and I just engulfed myself in finding out everything. Went to the prison site and started vetting which place I wanted to request to go to. I had really two options according to the BOP of going to Sheridan, Oregon, or Yankton, South Dakota, in regards to how far it away is from my hometown.
Sure. And both of those facilities have the residential drug abuse program, which is something we've been pursuing, and based on your preparation, et cetera, and evidence collected, will be eschewing upon your surrender and getting directly in. It's easier for you because you're going directly to a prison that has RDAP rather than getting sentenced to a prison that does not, and you have to transfer and get furloughed. It can be a nightmare. So your journey is easier because of those preparations of having a recommendation for RDAP and of going to a prison that, of course, has the program. So as you endure or look forward to the next 12 to 18 hours, what is your day like today? I know you've read my book. We've prepared. You have an understanding of what life is like on the inside. For many of you watching, I can tell you, you shouldn't be so worried about what life is like in prison, but rather what the rest of your life looks like because you went to prison. And I don't prey on vulnerabilities or scare people into. You don't need to be worried about life in a federal prison camp. Certainly, there are nuances you need to learn, rules and unwritten and written rules. Of course, you have to adjust properly to avoid conflict, but for the most part, it can be very boring. and you have to focus on what you can control rather than what so many great guys do, which is obsess over all of they have lost. So walk us through the countdown, the next few hours, and as you get ready to cross over to prison. What is today like for you?
Today, it's funny, after you and I are done here, I'm going to take a drive around South Dakota, and he's going to my buddy's going to show me around the state and what his old stomping grounds, and we're going to have supper tonight and just kind of sit back, drink some coffee, and relax. Tomorrow morning we're getting up bright and early, and he's going to take me down, and I'm going to surrender roughly around 10 o'clock and start my process, start the next chapter in my life. That's how I've kind of looked at all this, has been chapters. Sure. And that's where your book, I really appreciated your book. It was very insightful on what to expect that first day.
It means a lot, you saying that. If anyone wants a copy of Lessons from Prison, it's free. Don't buy it. Just go to federalprisonadvice.com. I'll send it to you. And when I wrote that book, the last 5 months of my prison term, people thought I was a little nutty and crazy in writing it, but I felt like guys like you and me, white-collar offenders who made some bad mistakes, could better prepare for the journey. So tell us about some of the goals that you have for the inside. It might seem strange, but there are some benefits to being away and having time to focus on religion or health. I mean, we are glued to these iPhones. I think you told me on a call you had 4 phones at one time. So there's some peace and solace with living in prison if you're proactive. So share with us some of the goals that you have while you are in federal prison.
One of the first things, Justin, I want to do when I get in there is I want to go to the chapel and reach out to the chaplain. That's one thing that has helped me through this process, because emotionally, physically, mentally, it really messed me up. And if I didn't have God there, I don't know if I would have made it this far. I think anybody sitting here having this conversation with you would be lying to everybody if they didn't contemplate some stupid stuff or doing some stupid stuff to themselves. So that's my first thing that I want to do, is I want to reach out to the chaplain and kind of look for that spiritual guidance. And then my next goal is to kind of sit back and see, kind of lay low, kind of get a feel for my surroundings. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, I want to get into fitness. I want to find a job.
Let me jump in. The reason I'm going to ask, let's just say fitness, for example. A lot of great people in prison say they have goals of writing a book or blogging or fitness, faith. And what helped me and a number of my clients is getting very specific. And if you don't have the answer right now, that's okay. I'd like you to think about it. But your family will want to hear it. When they visit with you, they're going to see that enthusiasm. Or when you call home, they're going to feel that energy, knowing that you're using every moment wisely. So when you say fitness, what does that mean? Does that mean you want to lose 10 pounds, 30 pounds? I became a long-distance runner in prison. So what does it mean?
My overall goal is I want to be at 200 pounds when I get out. I am currently 289 pounds. Okay. Up until about 4 months ago, I was down to 237. Yep. 4 months ago, I kind of figured I'm going to go in fat and happy.
I was there, my friend.
It was ice cream every night. Yeah. I mean, it was no mini, it was no small. It was as large as could be.
I know. As I wrote in Lessons from Prison, I like my last meals. You'd think I had a date with the electric chair. I didn't realize how good the food in prison could be. By the way, you could totally lose 100 pounds. David Foley, a good friend and client of mine, he's at Taft Federal Prison Camp where I served time. And I'll put up a photo of David in his blog. He's lost 100 pounds while he's there. He's writing blogs. He's with his family. 100 pounds. And frankly, I believe if you lose 90 pounds, it's going to add a decade to your life, because you'll never have an opportunity to lose the weight again, or at least make that type of commitment. And that's why, I'm not insane. I'm not happy that you're going to jail, but you're going. That's the reality. So it can be a downtime, or it can be an incredible opportunity to recalibrate and get strong. You could totally lose 90 pounds. And that's why right when you get out of prison, after your 41-month sentence, which with RDAP, by the way, will probably only be 15 or 16 months, we're going to do another video, and we're going to post with you being leaner and stronger and fitter. Yep. So you can totally do the fitness. I get very excited about it. So please continue.
Well, I might actually be in your neighborhood about the time I get out, because one of the first things when I get out, if I'm at 200 pounds, I got two guys that we're going skydiving. That's where you have to be.
I love it.
We're going to go jump. That's always been a bucket list thing, and this is going to help me get there.
I'm going to send you a book. I'm going to send you a book on skydiving. My wife skydived, and it's ironic. I committed a crime and crossed the line and went to prison because I'm actually very conservative and like don't really take risks. So it's like so crazy that I chose to facilitate a fraud and end up in prison. Clearly, I wasn't worried about risk then. I'm going to send you a book on skydiving because my wife did it. She's asked me to do it. There's no chance that I'm skydiving. Okay, so let's get back to so we're going to skydive when you come home.
I can't get you right here to make the deal with me.
There is no
if I get
there. Even if you lose the 90 pounds, my friend, I am not committing to skydiving, though I will support you. I will write about it, and I will even maybe some sort of GoPro camera to get it. I'll watch the video. Okay, so faith is a big deal to you, and I understand that you'll have myriad opportunities. And by the way, you're going to a great federal prison camp in Yankton. It's a former university, as you might know. They have a wonderful library. I believe it's a standalone camp. It's a really great prison. So we have fitness, we have religion. We're going to prepare to skydive. A few other goals that you have while there as we wrap up. And I love to get excited because you're beginning to think about what you can do while there rather than, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in prison in 12 or 14 hours, which I know is overwhelming, but you're beginning to think about what you can do. So give me a couple other goals. And,
again, your book touched on this, and I didn't give it any thought because I had my book list.
Yep.
I had my book list that, once I get there, start getting these books sent to me.
Yep.
It's funny. I'm a big John Grisham fan. I'm a Harlan Cobain fan.
Yeah.
And I remember reading that section in your book, and it's not getting you prepared for anything. It's not making you think. It's not. And so my book list has changed drastically, real drastically. And I got some books coming to me that I normally wouldn't read. I do love to read, but. When the time permitted, but that's one of the things I want to read some books that are actually going to activate my mind and get me thinking.
That's for quickly the reason when I was in federal prison, I used to read some of the Grisham books, and I said this in another video. I went to Michael Santos and I said, I've read 4 books this week, and a couple of them were John Grisham books, and he said you might as well be watching a movie because it's the same thing. It's not stimulating your mind. You're not growing your vocabulary. You're not really preparing for the obstacles that await your release. And I'm like, he was right. So for me, it was philosophy and ethics and business and leadership and mastering BOP policy and beginning to interview defendants to find out how they could have better prepared for their journey, work better with their lawyer, better prepare for the PSR, all that good stuff, rather than a lot of guys that work hard, but their interests could be misdirected or misguided, or there's no market for what they're working on, and beginning even to have the right book list will get your mind working. I mean, you could read 100 books there, just like you're going to lose 100 pounds, and you're really going to benefit through RDAP, which is a wonderful program that you clearly, prepared
and
for.
And that's one of the other goals is to get into RDAP. I'm kind of excited of what I found out in regards to RDAP
For sure.
and digging into the behavior, because I struggle anytime. I had a NA beer, non-alcoholic beer yesterday, and I wanted to switch it to the real deal.
Well,
and taking communion was very difficult for me because I had to visit with my pastor and get things watered down, but it's a struggle, and I'm looking forward to the behavior side of things.
Yes.
That they concentrate on and help you kind of get that figured out, because I don't have it figured out.
You will, and they're going to hold you accountable in RDAP. My clients, whether they're in Lewisburg or Cumberland, they're benefiting from the program. Managing to learn temptation is a big deal, right? In my second book, Ethics in Motion, I quoted Oscar Wilde, who said he could resist anything but temptation, right? So, it's time you're going to manage that temptation, and because it does no good to resist it on the inside and then come home and to drink. It does no good to lose 100 pounds, then come home and put the weight back on. In fact, I've run into 20 people since my release who lost weight. 19 of them have put it back on because you have the food in front of you, you have the alcohol, you can't exercise for 8 hours in the real world when you have bills and probation, etc. So it's creating a proactive routine on the inside that you can take home with you to the outside. And that's what I wish for you. If reading is a part of your life, it's got to be measured. Exercise, faith, it's got to be something you can continue when you come home is part of a balance. Aristotle, as I get philosophical, said there's gold in moderation. And that's what I want for your prison term. Rather than 12 hours of exercise or 12 hours of reading, I want it to be balanced. And let's close. This has been a longer video, but that's cool. Any questions you have for me over this last day or the first days on the inside? Anything additional I can share? But I know you've read my lesson plans and my book, and we've chatted. Any questions you have for me?
One question I have would be on what is truly administration remedies. That's one of the questions, and then I have one more maybe.
So I have a lesson plan on administrative remedies. I'll happily send it to anyone that inquires. Essentially, an administrative remedy is like a kangaroo court type process. If, for example, someone applies for the residential drug abuse program, it's recommended in their PSR. It's been asked for, recommended by the judge. And if for some reason they're denied access into RDAP, one way to streamline the process is by writing a BP9, the first step in an administrative remedy that formalizes the complaint. In fact, I've encouraged some defendants in the past who were in no man's land with RDAP. They don't get a yes, they don't get a no, and then they don't get into the next class, and it delays how much time they might get off. So it's not going to happen for you. RDAP's a formality. But if by chance they denied you, if by chance they kept you in no man's land and said, yes, no, maybe you're on the list, you could formally write a remedy, which would begin with a BP9. Then if they deny it, which I'm sure they'll deny the first one, it goes to a BP10, etc. So,
and then one more thing,
yes.
the TV, yeah. You say do anything, everything possible not to be in the TV room, because that's where a lot of the conflict begins.
Sure.
And I'm completely okay with that. And I guess I want an understanding, and I'm hoping whoever watches this video maybe has a better understanding too. That it's not necessarily about the TV. It's about what might occur with a channel being changed, I'm assuming.
Yep.
And even if you're not affiliated with it, you might be called in to be a snitch or whatever, and it's just best to stay away from that and run from it or walk away from any type of conflict you see like that.
Right. So, all right. So I'm going to put up I wrote a daily blog in prison, and it's Masters Week this week. And I remember when I was in prison in 2008, I wrote a blog because a white collar offender walked into the TV room, changed the channel to the Masters. A fellow prisoner had left the room, so this white collar offender presumed the TV room was open. This other offender came in, freaked out. It was basketball. And the white collar offender said, well, no one was in the room. I thought we'd want to watch, golf. So the message is this: even if you walk into the TV room, don't change the channel. Even if it's empty, someone could have left to use the restroom and they come back. The reality is many men in prison rule the TV room as if it's their fiefdom. They will park themselves up there all day. They will dominate this room. Do not change the channel. Do not complain. Do not gamble. Do not get into that process.
Then one other question that I had was with dealing with family.
Yeah.
And it's one of my goals also, because my wife and my kids endured.
It's always harder. It's always harder on them. I know.
Agony and pain. And is there programs in there, or will I get this through RDAP, that will help me kind of foster that relationship or massage that relationship through the time I'm spending there? Because this is a goal. This is one of my main goals for when I get out. That is my life when I get out.
Yeah.
And what's there for me to kind of work on or to look for?
There'll be myriad opportunities to reconnect with families. Sometimes it's through a formal program. Maybe it's a parenting class. Maybe it's an RDAP program, to do it in a formal way, to have assignments where you're reaching out to and connecting with your family. But here's the beautiful thing. Even if there isn't that formal program, and you're going to get a lot of that through RDAP, connecting with family, accepting responsibility, the importance of accountability, public speaking about the bad decisions you made, committing to living a substance-free life, and you're going to be sharing a lot of that with your family through emails, through visits, through good old snail mail. So there will be opportunities formally, but the beautiful thing is you have to do it informally as well, as I did. Now, there wasn't email when I was in prison, Chad. There is for you. So this good old iPhone, you can email your family throughout the day, and you can call home and say, look, I only have 10 minutes on the phone today. I want to tell you how much I love you, how hard I worked today. I said I'm going to lose 90 pounds. I lost 20. I was in the chapel today for a couple of hours. I read a book that I'd love to read the book alongside you. I'd love to learn new words with you. So whether it's formal, which there will be programs, or informal, it's on you to set the tone. And you can absolutely do that, because even with RDAP in your job, you're going to have a lot of time every day to reconnect with your family, to inspire them. Because as you know, it is harder on those that love and support you, and you have an obligation to prepare for them. So do not fret, whether it's formal or informal, you will be working to prove worthy of the love they give you, and it inspires them. And when they visit, and that visitation is a big first day. They're coming to see you, and visitation can be very bad news in prison. It's where inmates get a lot of bad news. The tone that you set as the prisoner will set the tone for the whole journey. And that's why I'll be alongside you through the journey. You're going to add me to your email list. I'm going to keep you apprised of what I'm doing. I want to hear what you're doing. You will be able to connect with that family and do so in a way you never imagined. So last minute, 30 seconds or 60 seconds, any takeaways for people that are watching before they're about to go in, or steps that they should do to prepare? Any last minute takeaways before we wrap up this video?
Justin, the only thing I can say is, when I found your information out there, and I don't want this to be any, gimmick sales pitch or anything else. You've always been very humble and so forth. I just want to say that I wish I would have found your stuff a lot sooner. It helped me after getting your free book and reading it. It was huge for me. It put me kind of at a peace of mind that everything's going to be all right. I'm going to get through this. And it helped me out tremendously, and it helped my family get prepared. And I left some of that for them to read. So that's all I can say is thank you.
I'm proud to call you a friend. I'm very grateful that my work helped you prepare for the journey. I get a little choked up because I know what the last day is like before going to prison. It's emotional. It's tough. It'll be 8 years for me this month. So I wish you well on the journey. I'll be thinking of you. I look forward to hearing from you through the CorrLink system, and I think you're a terrific person who will do incredible things while you're away, and count on me to hold you accountable, and to do two things: to film a video immediately upon your release to show that weight loss and what you did, and to post a video of you skydiving. So I wish you well on your journey, bud.
Sounds good.
Sounds good, but thank you very much.